Hey, how are you? Um, I've been thinking that we've been together for a while now, and we've had a lot of good times. But yeah, I think I'm ready to move on. I mean, you've been terrific for the time that we've been together, but I really feel like my needs aren't really being met, and I'm gonna. I think we're gonna have to part ways. No, 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 no. It's okay. It's okay. Because you know what? A part of you will always be with me. I promise.
Wow, that took a hard left onto Creep Street. Today's project is building a new workbench. My current bench, is still useful, but not the best use of my available space. Its dimensions were 6 feet by 4 feet and was originally built around a job site table saw that has since crapped out on me. This beast of a table was also used for storing my larger bench tools, which I had to pull out to use and put them away when I was done. Also, with a large surface, my tools would decide to get together and have a party, leaving me to clean up the mess. Like on Tool Story. That's not a copyright infringement, right? Please don't sue me, Disney. There's about another minute of me doing this, and I don't like awkward silences. Since I didn't use glue on this table, I'm reusing all the hardware and lumber on the new table. Reuse, recycle, repurpose, right? Once the table was disassembled, I used my crosscut sled and table saw to trim the 2x4s to the dimensions of 24 inches by 48 inches. This is where things started going a little bit wrong. More on that later. I started with the lower frame by pre-drilling holes into the ends of the shorter pieces to accommodate the 2.5-inch deck screws I'm using. It's always a good idea to pre-drill, as this will keep the screws from splitting the wood. It's also a good idea to do this on a flat, even surface, and have your speed square handy. This new bench design was inspired by Bob Claggett over at his YouTube channel, I Like to Make Stuff, and by Brad Rodriguez over at his channel, Fix This, Build That. At least for the drawers, anyway. So, I guess if they ever had a project child together, this is what it would look like? Probably not, because I don't think this thing is going to be quite that square, and it's not going to have LEDs either. So, if you want to be inspired like I was, I'll leave the links to those particular videos in the description below. Definitely take a look at it, because these channels are pretty awesome, informative, and entertaining. Now the length for the legs on this table took a little bit of math, because I wanted my overall height of this table to be 37 inches, which is slightly shorter than the top of my table saw. I really wanted this table to be a runoff table that I could use with my table saw. Now the way I figured out how long to cut these legs, I took my overall desired height for the bench and I minused the thickness of the top of the table and also the height of the casters. Enjoy this brief musical interlude. So I'm attaching these small cut-offs because without it, I'd only be able to utilize 3 of the 4 mounting holes for the casters, and I wanted this to be as sturdy as possible. I marked all the holes and then pre-drilled. I ended up putting the casters on off camera. Bob did something I really liked on his bench, and that was installing a storage compartment underneath the top. I felt this was a great idea to keep my most used tools close. Off camera, I cut some 1/4 inch plywood and hit it with a sander to get rid of the splinters. I then flipped the frame over and mounted the sheet to the underside of the frame. I cut another piece of 2x4 to length and mounted it to the back of the bench. This is to help support the hinges. Okay, so the reason why I'm putting this stuff off to one side and making marks at 10 inches is because I screwed up when cutting the lumber. I had in my mind a 2 foot by 4 foot bench, but then taking into account the overall dimensions would be 27 by 51. Now, since I can't defuse this bomb after it's already gone off, and I'm not about to tear down this bench for a second time today, I'm going to go ahead and run with it. I cut a small 2x4 on my table to create a partition to separate the caddy from the undertop storage. So as checking it for fit, it was peeking up just a little bit, so I decided to rip a little bit off on the table saw. Alright, looks good. So I decided to use pocket holes to attach this to the interior of the bench. I figured it'd be the most convenient, and it really doesn't need to be super strong. It's not structural or anything, it's just there to separate the stuff that's underneath the tray versus the stuff that's in the cubby. Here I'm measuring how much of a top I'm going to need because obviously it's not going to be 2 feet by 4 feet. So this is the top that came off of the old bench. I'm marking off the areas that I don't want to use because, man, I beat the heck out of this top. There's holes, paint, glue, and who knows what else. The underside, however, pretty much hasn't even been touched. I then busted out my straight edge and cut off the undesirable parts while trying to get a straight edge so I can clean this up on the table saw. Incoming issue in 3, 2, 1.
Alright, so, bit of an issue. As you can tell here, this guy angles off this way when I have this right here flush. And as you can see here, this does taper off down here to the end. So as near as I could tell, I cut this thing out kind of awkwardly. When you measure from side to side, all the measurements come out, but corner to corner, it's way off. So, as long as I have a straight reference point, I think I'll be able to get it corrected. Let's see how this works out.
So what I did off camera is I made sure that the back edge of the top and the back edge of the bench lined up, and then I measured from the side of the bench to the edge to get myself a straight line.
Okay, so I think I came up with a solution to help straighten this board out, or at least give me one straight edge. So what I did here is I marked straight line going down this way, and you can see how that tapers. So what I did is on my circular saw, I measure this guy out. It comes out to about 4 1/4 inches. And what I do is I measured that out 4 1/4 inches right to that line. And I did this all the way down the straight edge. Let's see how this works.
Eureka! It worked. I then flipped it over to reveal the clean top. Got it lined up and laid out where I was installing the hinges. And if you don't have one already, I recommend picking up a scratch awl. I just barely started using one, and it does make it easier, especially when drilling holes. You can put a little divot in there, and it helps keep the drill bit from wandering. And plus, they're only a few bucks at your local home store. And here, I really should use the clamp to hold the tabletop down to the bench, so that way it wouldn't wander on me while I was trying to mount it.
already filling it up. Alright, well, what did I learn today? Well, when you're cutting the top, everything can measure great left to right, length and width, and you'll still be way out of whack on square. But it's fixable. You just may have to modify or design up a little bit. One of the overall things I came up with this was I had an idea in my head of what I wanted to do, but I was so excited about jumping in and just doing it, I didn't actually draw out any sketches. I figured doing a 24 inch by 48 inch bench would be easy, and for the most part it was, but it does leave a lot of room for error to where you kind of get in that work mode. You're like, okay, I need this piece to be 24 inches, I need this piece to be 48, when in fact you don't, because you have to take into account the overlap of your pieces. So this came out to be longer than 48. So a lot of changes on the fly. So overall, what I would say is always do a rough sketch to have an idea of what you want. If you have time, go ahead and plan it. If you do just want to jump into the shop and start doing something, maybe it's good to do a smaller project. So something that you can make small modifications on, because the bigger the project gets, the more those errors have a tendency to compound. So always a good idea to have something in writing, have it next to it. There's almost always going to be changes, unless you're perfect at planning, which I'm not. So what's next? Well, I still have this open bottom here, and my original bench I had just some OSB on there just to store all my larger equipment, but I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try out drawers. So I've never done drawers before, and I have a bunch of drawer glides that my dad gave me that are, goodness, I don't know how old they are. They're not super duper awesome ball bearing like you'll see on other channels. They're just some basic drawer pulls that I got from my dad. So we're going to see if we can make those work on the next video. But other than that, thanks for coming in. Thanks for stopping by. I don't have a cool catchphrase yet. I'm working on it. See you later.